Just finished a lovely cycle of Wim Hof breathing. Made me feel so good. It really is a great way to take away negative thought loops, revitalize a bit of energy, give you some energy, make you want to shake it out a bit. But that is how I'm leading in this video about optimism and how it relates to manifestation. I'm honestly trying to get out of my comfort zone with a video like this. Never made a video like this, but I think it's important to be optimistic. So important. It's almost the most vital essence of energy to live a positive and beautiful life. When you have this profound beauty that permeates how you view everything, it's almost like everything becomes viewing life through rose-colored glasses. And when you imagine the honeymoon phase of a relationship, or you imagine these nostalgic times as a child, or your most beautiful day in the last year or so, it's probably outdoors. It's probably with people you love. And when you're optimistic, these things become more common. These beautiful days become more common. Viewing things positively changes outcomes. How you view the world not only alters your perspective, but it influences people around you. It's an energy field. It's almost on a electromagnetic level when you bring optimism to a room. When you're the happiest guy in the room and you're bringing this positive energy, whether you're a guy, girl, whatever in the spectrum. Whoever you are as a person, when you let your true self shine, and let's say you're not that optimistic yet, you still have a lot of pessimism in your life and negativity in your brain. Maybe it's a little bit harder for you, but you gotta almost fake it till you make it. I've had to do this lots. I used to be very insecure and honestly much more pessimistic than I am now. And that always influenced how I treated people and how other people treated me as well. It's a two-way exchange. There has to be equivalence in some sense of the manner. Of course, some people are, have more status or are taller or whatever stupid label you want to put on it. It's really easy to compare yourself to others, and for others to look at two people and be like, oh, that person's way cooler, when in reality this other person might have all these traits that are actually kind of beautiful and maybe mean more on a deeper spiritual level than this outwardly materialistic viewpoint. And with that, it doesn't matter how pessimistic you are to start. You can always bring this veil of optimism out, even if it's small at first. We've all had times in our life where we're happy and it feels like everything's going to go right, and sometimes things go very wrong. And when that happens, you really have to use whatever embers of optimism. You can think of it like a fire that's almost out. It hasn't been refueled in 3 hours. It's starting to rain a bit, but there's still some embers. You got to blow on the embers, bring the optimism forth. It doesn't matter if it's only a little bit. You just keep choosing that little thread of optimism in your brain when you're going through a tough time. Things get better, and they do anyways. You can be really pessimistic, and naturally life ebbs and flows, and whether it's weeks, months, or years, it's really all of the above. You'll go through these phases. Sometimes it'll be quick up and down. Sometimes it's short. Sometimes it's 2 weeks of good, 2 weeks of bad, 2 weeks of good, 2 more weeks of good, 2 weeks of bad, 2 weeks of good. Or it's a more deep process, which is, obviously a natural theme. You'll have the best years of your life, the worst years of your life. These years were average, whatever it is. And we all know what those are, kind of fundamentally. There's lots of good times, lots of bad times, but it's also good to kind of homogenize everything and be like, hey, everything that's already happened to me is kind of amazing. Even if I went through such shitty times, let's say you went through the worst possible life a human could experience, the fact that you're still alive and living gives you that opportunity, and that's what's beautiful. The opportunity to be optimistic and to change and to allow new thought processes to form that are positive in nature. That's like a flower blooming. There's beautiful growth and there's not so beautiful growth. Trees growing, the flowers blooming, the heat increasing as summer's beautiful wish goes on. And then there's not so good growths in this life. Tumors, pollutants in our foods and our atmospheres, paranoia over the future. There's all sorts of things that can derail us from an optimistic path. But really the key is to, when you want to choose negativity, there's always a part of you that, it's almost like a riddle or a 50-50 game or a 70-30 game, depending where you're at. Sometimes, it's like a 80% leaning towards the negative side, and you're going to make the negative decision. It's a little bit too overwhelming. But there's still a part of you that knows you could have been nicer, or knows that you could be nicer in this moment, but you choose not to. Don't get me wrong, sometimes you gotta pick the pessimistic option. It's part of growth in this life. But when you're presented with this choice, in the split second before you make a decision, I just urge you to move from negative to positive. It's really easy. Split second decision. Just let this kind of soak into your brain. Just choose the positive outcome more. It's not going to happen every time. I don't do it every time. But once I started doing that, and you can do it in many ways, my life got so much better. It's really amazing when you're optimistic with your thoughts. And then your manifestations, there's a lot of different ways to look at manifestation. I really just think of it as like reframe your brain and your perspective of this world in a creative manner, how whatever suits you, and essentially everything gets better. I know a lot of people will focus on subliminals or listening to the same audio for 6 hours in your brain. I don't know about that. I do believe in mantras. One I love to use is just, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself. Whether it's looking at myself in the mirror, putting my hand over my heart, this has helped me heal a lot of self-hate and, wounds of the past. And there's other mantras too, like, I'm going to choose the right option. I'm going to be the most positive, whatever it is for you. Make it something that hits deeply. I love myself is a great one. Self-love is optimism. A hardcore insecurity I had was like self-love. Like I hated myself. At least that's what it felt like. It's kind of an illusion. It's basically just self-obsession in disguise. I think self-hate is a lot of bullshit. Like, obviously I've kind of gotten through it. I love myself so much now that it's hard to imagine a world where I do hate myself. But let's say you do hate yourself. I know it's real. I know it feels real, and it is a real experience. But at the same time, for me, what helped me was reframing it as this thing that was kind of just an illusion, that like there was a demon latching onto my head, creating this narrative that actually wasn't very true. And once I just stopped listening to that and honestly just became friends with it, I was like, hey, self-hate demon, hey, anxiety demon, you guys are actually cool. Like I appreciate you guys, in my life, because you guys are actually giving me challenges to make me better. And, I'm willing to persevere through this with you. Everything got a lot better. And I know that sounds, easier than it might be in the practical sense, but it really is just a way to not demonize it anymore. When you demonize these things like self-hate or anxiety, they actually latch on you more, and they cause you more deleterious effects. So to conclude the video, I really just want to spread the love and let everyone know that optimism will change your life, and how it relates to manifestation is really just the optimism itself is the manifestation. When you have these positive thoughts and these positive energies and these positive vibes flowing through you, you can manifest everything way easier. You just visualize these things when you're about to do something hard. Like let's say you're about to run around the block and you want to beat a record time. You say, this is easy and this is amazing. I enjoy this. It's not hard. I don't need willpower. I just have to fuel through with love. And it doesn't always work, Sometimes you have off days and you're like, dang, this is kind of bullshit because it doesn't work. But on those days, I just urge you to just accept it. Just stick with the process, Process is progress. Progress is process. In and out, over and out. Dreamcatcher. Goodbye.